ugly sides of the kid. And there's 6 of these sticks. And the way the game works is the 2 victims, because they're wealthy and the rest of us are jealous, is you're tossing it in here. So don't bring it across the plate. I have how many pretty sides up?
1, 2, 3.
I get 3 pretty sides up, so I get 1 point. That's because I'm perfect in every single way. If you get 3 pretty sides up, 1 point. If you get 6 pretty sides up, 2 points. That's all you get. So if I get 5, anyway, you're first. Chikura. You're tossing all sides in there. How many did you get? How many did you get?
1, 2, 3, 4.
How many points did you get?
1.
0. It's a good throw, but it has to be 3 pretty sides up or 6
Lucky
pretty sides.
ducky.
No pressure, Shari.
I'm a lucky 3.
How many?
3.
How many points?
0.
You're both fired. Find somebody else to replace you. Find
3.
somebody else. Was it 3 or 2 or somebody? Oh, somebody came in.
Me and Shoria.
Shari, you picked Lima and
Lydia. Shoria picked me. Wait, when did Lima come here?
Did you choose first? You went first. So you. Oh, let go. Choose first because you went first last time. Okay.
Shove.
How many?
2. Yes.
Okay, no pressure.
I know that.
Oh, I just want to.
Is it boys and girls?
No, it's whoever they pick.
Why is it only boys and girls?
I don't know. It's your class.
3.
How many?
4.
No, how do you see 4?
Oh, 3.
So she wins the 1 point, which is enough to win.
Hey, Bishop.
So decision.
Lucky ducky right there.
No,
Jaden.
no need to do that anymore. Oh no, she won. So we're either doing. Lima, are we starting this tour as a docent or with the docent or with the video? She said video. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what this game is. I'm just putting it here because when I talk, you're not talking. I have to go through the 7 rules with you. Eyes this way. Eyes. Rule number 1. When I'm talking, you're not talking. You're not talking. You're not talking. Yourself. Rule number 2. When I'm talking, you're not talking. You're paying attention. You're paying attention to yourself. Rule number 3. When I'm talking, you're not talking. You're paying attention. You're paying attention. Rule number 4. Rule number 5. Rule number 6. Since we're starting out with video, because Lima said we're doing video, we'll do that. Let's see what happens when you do it, okay?
Okay. I did.
This class is bigger than, it seems bigger than the other Korean bigger. Before we do this video, and the video is this long, but we want to do this part of it, I have to go through 4 vocabulary words here. First vocabulary word is primary source. Primary source means that you either witnessed it, you're part of it, and you wrote it down. So, I'm going to go ahead over to this kid. What did you have for breakfast yesterday? This kid. All right. Is he a primary source or secondary source? Beg your pardon? Is Orion a primary source or secondary? Usually, Orion? Is he, sorry about that, is he primary source or secondary? Hey, you can sneeze like that at home. There you go. Did you get the question? Is he primary source or secondary source?
Primary.
You got it, almost. Did you write it down?
Secondary.
Oh, did you write down what you had for breakfast? Whatever you had for breakfast, don't repeat it. Did you write it down? Put it with pen and paper?
No.
Okay, so he's not a primary source. Because you have to document it. Did I tell you the day that I jumped over the Empire State Building?
What?
Well, I'd be primary source, but if I didn't write it down, I'm not primary source. When you write it down, that shows you actually did it. Now I'm going to go after somebody far from Orion. This guy, Surya. Nah, I don't want you. I want this guy. Roy. What did Orion have for breakfast yesterday?
I didn't know.
Is Roy a primary source or a secondary source?
Secondary.
Is he reliable?
Yes. Yes. No. Everyone's reliable.
Is he yes or no?
No. Yes.
Well, does Roy's answer match Orion's answer? He's not reliable. I think, Orion, did you say milk? And you said, I don't know, or something. So this guy is a secondary source, but he's not a reliable secondary source. A secondary source doesn't see it. They're writing down what the primary source did, but hopefully they get the information correct. So we have 4 vocabulary words. We have primary source, secondary source. This word is secularization. Secularization, 4th graders, you might notice it is a hard word. When something is secularized, the religious stuff is taken out of it. If you had a religious building that you sat in, knelt in, stood in, and prayed in, that building became secularized. It's no longer a holy place. Secularized. That's where indigenous, native. Bobcats are indigenous to this area. Giant pandas are not indigenous to this area. Ask me a question because I'll charge you. Indigenous people, because they're native to this area. Mission San Jose, because you're stuck here. Why don't you hit whatever?
Okay.
Our story of the Rancho Higuera movie will start with the natives, the indigenous people who live in the area below Mission Peak. They lived in small villages governed by common consent and common ownership.
Okay. The last word they said was they lived on these grounds in common ownership and common consent. That's not something that we do here. It works like this. Orion lives here. I live there. Or I live here. I can walk all around my home and I can walk in front of Orion's and he's okay with it. He was back then okay. I can walk behind it and it's okay. That's because this land around his home is common, it's for everybody. Orion can walk in front of my house because the ground is for everybody. He can walk behind it. That's what it means by common ground, common consent. Common consent means
You don't have to ask anybody.
yeah, you don't have to ask anybody, but look at your world today. If somebody walked on your front lawn, is that okay for you?
No.
So we don't think that way, they did. For somebody to go into your backyard, they probably have to hop a fence. Would that be okay with you?
No.
We don't think like that. We think like this, it's all mine. But it was different back then.
Like private property.
It's private, and it's going to be one of the reasons why natives lose their land. They think it belongs to everybody, and you go, no, that's mine. It's just a clashing of minds. Okay, responsible person, hit, okay.
The permanent villages were situated on high ground near a freshwater source. There were 5 villages on the hill. One was located where the mission is situated today. They were hunter-gatherers and moved from the bay shores to the hills according according to the seasons. This was a land of plenty, and food was abundant. The acorn was a main staple of their diet. Women used portable and bedrock mortars with
What that?
Potato.
No, it's the crushed
Wow.
potato.
It's
Wow.
the pestle.
Got it. Are you the one that has that home? This is, okay. What that?
Rock.
Pastel.
Pestle.
Gosh, does Boston have to keep teaching you? What that?
Pastel.
Pastel.
I know.
Pestle.
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 Like nestle. P-E-S-T-L-E.
Pestle.
Pestle. You can't even hear most of the letters.
Pestle.
What that?
Pestle.
What that?
Pestle.
What that?
Pestle.
What that?
Pestle.
Oh, yeah. It's not a motor, Boston. Please pronounce the word for the one in front. You did not get it.
Pestle.
No, the M word.
Pestle.
Oh, mortar.
Mortar. M-O-R. More. T-A-R. And you don't, I don't even know why. Mortar is the bowl, mortar's the bowl, pestle, pestle. You just want your mortar pestle lesson. I'll let you teach your note, okay. Responsible person, please say, okay.
pestles to grind nuts and seeds. They are still found in the hills today.
Yeah. Mortar.
Change for the Ohlone way of life began with the arrival of the Europeans. In 1769, the Portola expedition scouted the area and may have passed through the site of today's Adobe. The De Anza expedition came in 1776 with settlers to populate and help build San Francisco. Mission San Jose was founded in 1797. The Ohlone provided the labor to build the mission and other structures. They cultivated crops, managed the cattle herds, and helped to build a prosperous, self-sufficient mission. It was the Ohlone vaqueros.
Yeah, the Ohlone vaqueros. Vaqueros is Spanish word for cowboy. So they're the ones on the horses. They're the ones with the lasso.
You did that.
What's the R word for lasso?
Lasso.
No,
R.
Were you introduced to the word riata?
Oh,
No.
I think a little bit in our benchmark.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did.
We had the riata.
Yes, we did.
The vaqueros had to brand the cattle. The vaqueros had to slaughter the cattle. But what is the one job the vaqueros didn't have to do?
Take out the beef tallow.
Take out
The digging, including the armpit part. You're right about that. So the Ohlones became the good horsemen, the vaqueros, and so they worked in the missions as the horsemen because the missions also had cattle. They also worked for the ranchos because the Mexicans had cattle. They just didn't have the missions. All right, that's it. Okay.
Is that one of those?
Oh yeah. Do a pause.
Pestle.
This is a pestle. I have not dropped in on any fourth grader, but the third grader suffered. In the back row near Orion is an actual hide. It's Orion, you were sitting on it. It has the hair on it. It's soft enough for clothes, but I don't see anybody going around with hairy clothes. On the other side, with my mortar pestle, behind my mortar pestle expert, is also a hide. I don't know what process it is because it's stiff, and I don't know, maybe because it's old. You'll see old marks in it because the hide has a tendency to curl, and so they have to keep it flat. Why did I stop? You had a question? No, okay, let's move on. Is it okay?
That managed the expanding mission cattle herds that roamed the hills and valleys, including the land of the Agua Caliente.
Which means what?
Ships sailed down from San Francisco to Embarcaderos near present-day New York City. Hides and tallow were traded for Europe.
Okay, yeah, I am interrupting the lady, and you may not have finished the thought. This idea is that the hides and towels were taken down to the ships, and the ships took it up and down the coastline. I wanted you to notice two things about this picture. You're going to say, oh, it looks terrible, and it looks terrible. Two other things. If the guy is carrying the hide on his head, it's heavy. And that's what it was. He's carrying it on his hot head. The hide is heavy. I'll take this. in the cart would be other hides. Can you see how you can pack a lot more when they're flat?
Yeah.
They're dry, and that's the whole idea. They had to be stretched out flat because they had the tendency to curl. So he had it flat. That's all I wanted you to see. Did it okay?
Team goods. In 1868, an earthquake destroyed the original 1809 adobe church. It was reconstructed and dedicated in 1985. After 1833, when California became part of Mexico,
Okay, now that you're all fourth grade here,
No,
these two.
but the two in the back are third grade?
Yep.
No,
Okay.
he's third grade.
I am going to accelerate this part of the lecture. So you know you're here for the rancho. But I don't know if you knew who was the one who owned this rancho. It's an odd F word, Fulgencio Higuera. It's just odd. So here we have ourselves the normal teaching thing, and the guy who owned it at one time, his name is Fulgencio, and the G is not pronounced very well. And what year was he born?
1799.
I need a hand up for somebody who said that. There you go.
1799.
All right. So he's born in 1799. I don't care about the rest of this stuff. There was a time when California was owned by Spain, and then Spain and Mexico had some type of a war, and Mexico wins, and when they win, well, Mexico takes control of California. So the war ended between Spain and Mexico. Us Californians, we don't care, we're so far away. When did Mexico take California?
1822.
Hand up, somebody. 1822. Here's my next question. Missions became secularized. That means they were taken away from the missionaries, most of it, and it wasn't holy anymore. How many years was it between the time when Mexico finally said,
11 years. 11.
you got it? It took Mexico 11 years
Hey,
to
I got
figure
it.
out.
I got
That has to be the back row, then I'll go to the front row. Took Mexico 11 years to figure out what to do with the missions. 11 years ago, they got the land, and it took them 11 years to say, I think the land belongs to somebody else. Somebody in the back row, because I'm only going to get a Now I'm going to the front row.
Yay!
And I'm gonna get
So
it.
now that all the land in California can belong to Mexico, when did Fulgencio get his land?
1836.
Which is 3 years later. So here's my next question.
Hi.
So what year was it that Fulgencio gets his land?
1836.
So when did Fulgencio kind of technically lose his land because the United States came and said it's all mine, 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 mine?
1847.
How many years did he have it?
11 years.
About 11 years.
11 years.
It has to be the middle row.
Ow.
That
Rachel.
That was middle row. Middle row.
Oh,
I was letting what I do. There's boys, there's girls, and we have others. Okay. Well, now I'm going to make it all kind of odd for you. What year was Fulgencio born?
1799.
Put the card back. Who has ever had 17? Put it back. It's easy for you to put back. Each time we put the cards back, we have to put it in order. Okay, so when did Mexico finally get the land?
1822.
You got it. Who has 1822? There you go, put it back in for in chronological order. So 1822, so the land belongs to Mexico, but 11 years later, Mexico is saying, I know what to do with the missions, we'll give them to the people. Who has the 1833 card? He. Put it back. And so now that the land all belongs to Mexico, when does Fulgencio get it?
1836.
Who has 1836? That's you? Okay. So he gets the land in 1836, and along comes the big guy, the United States, and says, well, mine, 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 mine. Oh, you have to put it in chronological order. So the United States comes and they take the land in 1847. Who has that card? 1846. Put it back in chronological order. Did the kids do it right? Did you guys do it right?
yeah,
I
I think so. I don't know.
I don't know.
What's that?
A week ago, I was telling the kids about a cow that was on the hill. Kids finally said to me, that's not a cow, it was a turkey. Same picture. It has the ranchos of the period you were studying, and we are the you are here one. We're a small one. the agua caliente, the hot springs or the warm springs. We don't have a school called Hot Springs, we just have a different name for that, warm springs. Somebody had a larger tract of land. They called it X Mission San Jose. As far as I'm concerned, the only way you get an X is if you got married, but nobody got married here. It's, so you don't think, oh, the mission still exists. They do not exist anymore. This is the Rancho Higuera. We have the X Mission San Jose, lot larger. Here's a word I can't pronounce. It's another rancho. And it's during a short period in the 1830s and 1840s, because when the United States took the land, they got trying to get rid of the ranchos as well. So this is called rancho, whatever, that word. Yeah, whatever she just said, that's what it's called.
Alameda.
Alameda, then we have this one, which is called Rancho, that, whatever she said. The big one in red is more of a European American settler word. This whole area was not called Fremont. They didn't even call it Washington City, Washington Town, they just called it Washington Township. It's the first time I ever heard the word township in this area. And it's kind of a today word. So, what are those circles of? What do those circles represent? What's in my thingies? You got it, the rancho. You see the similarity? Oh, wrong picture. Darn, it's
Oh, why are you pushing me?
Guys, you got
I'm getting squished like a gummy bear.
take a right in the back. It's not a big deal.
There's a row in the back. I'm not responsible for this.
Look at me, look at me, look at me.
Yeah.
Do you see the similarity? I'm only giving you 7 seconds before I drop it on again.
The X Mission San Jose matches
Yeah,
exactly.
you see the red Washington Township, right? And you see the yellow X Mission San Jose Rancho? And you see the Agua Caliente, which is the You Are Here?
Yes.
Well, if they're meant to be the same, I can bring this down, be careful so I don't kill you. Hey, front row. The difference with this map that I want you to see is they have today words in it. They didn't have Mission 880 back, but they didn't have Highway 880. Do you see 880 here?
Yeah, right
And
there.
which rancho is it going through? Oh, you got that one. Do you see Mission Boulevard?
Yeah. Yeah, right there.
Yeah, they didn't have the Mission Boulevard back then.
I see you on here.
Now, do you see that You Are Here?
Yeah.
That's because you are here or there. Do you see the elementary school? It's a today word.
Yeah.
What's the name of it?
Like how?
Yeah, that's where Blackout was. Actually, it's a today word that was in an old period. Do you see the junior high school?
Yeah.
What's the name of the junior high school?
Warner,
Yeah. And do you see the high school?
Washington High School.
Okay, which rancho had all 3 high schools?
Mission San Jose.
Which rancho had all 3 schools on their property?
Mission San Jose.
So what can you say about your property? We have a place now. I mean, X Mission San Jose can say I had 3 schools, more than just a test one. Can you see how it wouldn't make sense to have a local school here? Students, I turn this way. Can you see why they don't have local schools? I could be living here where it says You Are Here, and I'm saying, I don't want the school over there. My 5-year-old can't walk there. Or somebody else will say, I don't want the schools here. I don't want these idiot teenagers tramping all over my land. So they didn't have the local schools. How many fingers am I holding up? Oh, you're not paying attention. So back then they didn't have the local schools. This is how you got educated. Is if there was a retired soldier or a teacher who knew how to read and write, he would come to your rancho and teach just the boys. The girls had to do the cooking and whatever girls do, and they had to do digging. Yeah. Do I need to repeat the lesson digging with you? Say no, because Andrew's in the other group. Yeah, so they didn't have the local schools over here. Now, I'm going to take you to the map that I really wanted to take you, and I have to apologize to your teacher for taking you to 5th grade. That's where they threw me. Recognize any of the states.
Yeah,
Texas.
So do you remember there was a fight between Mexico and Spain?
Yeah.
And Mexico won? Well, Mexico won more than California. Look at the other states Mexico won. Name them.
Arizona,
Nevada, California, Utah, and what about Colorado, New Mexico, and Texas.
Texas for sure, Wyoming and Texas, you didn't know about it. If you were in Mexico and you suddenly owned all this new land because some war that was fought down here, you're going, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, it's all mine, mine, mine. And then you go, oh no, oh no, oh no, how am I gonna protect it to keep it mine? You somehow have to put Mexican settlers there so nobody else would come in like the United States, which they did about 30 years later.
French.
The French,
They were on the other side.
the French were up here, but it was the United States that came in not even 30 years later. They came in. So now all this belongs to Mexico, and Mexico needs some way to get all the Mexican citizens there. How many of you are Catholic? This is not very bad for you. And how many of you are Mexican? Well, then become a Catholic and go marry a Mexican. What a bad group you are. But there's a few other things you had to know as well. They gave it to the people who were Mexican, or you could marry a Mexican, and that's okay. And they gave it to you if you're a Catholic, and that explains the cross. And if you're not Catholic, you would say, I'm Catholic or Catholic. But they also said you need to have a map. Fourth graders, what's the D word for a map? I don't know, I can't remember if your history book told you. It's not a bad history book. Diseño? Have you heard the word diseño? No, then I apologize for doing that. I keep saying it and you didn't even have it. They had to have a map, and they have a letter to the governor to say, I am a Mexican citizen. I am Catholic. I have a little map here. And I have a few other things because I want you to let me to have my land. Well, the map was a little on the crude side. This actual map had 4 points of interest. You're looking at my map and you're seeing a connected line. That's the way maps are, but no, their maps had 4 points. One point was Monument Peak. How many of you have hiked Monument Peak? Bad class. Okay, the other point was Mission Peak. How many of you have hiked Mission Peak? Yeah, so that's 2 points, Monument Peak, Mission Peak. Whoever made this map, they drew the line, but the maps back then didn't have it. How many have heard of Scott Creek? I drive it all the time, but Scott Creek is not where you think Scott Creek is, so I don't get it. And then there's another one called Cañada Alisos. How many of you have heard of it? How many of you have seen it? How many of you have read it? I read this Cañada Alisos with a magnifying glass, but for the life of me, I don't even know where that creek is. But that's how this map was made. The Mission Peak that you hiked, the Monument Peak that you didn't hike, the Scott Creek, which is not where the Scott Creek you think it is, and the Cañada Alisos, which I can't find. That's what it had, just those 4 points. I got lost.
We're a little past halfway.
Okay, thank you on that one. That's brain farting, don't inhale. Oh, so I covered the map with you. Oh, okay. That means we're done here. I'm gonna leave this stuff here. We did the review of that one. Mexico used to own this place for not very long, and then California got taken over by the United States. I'm done here. Whoever's hat that is, if you're done playing with days, yours. Now I'm going to take you to the next part of this tour. I'll take you to the far room. You're seated. Stay on your butts. Your butts is a nice thing. Stay on your butts. This is the room I take you into. There's a table on this side. There's a table on this side. This table has stuff. This table has stuff. This table has stuff that says do not touch. So they don't want you to touch it.
That's what I thought.